All aboard! Welcome to the All Aboard podcast. I am your host, Brandon DeFreitas. I am joined today by everyone's favorite tank top wearing guest, Ben Dietz. How are you doing today?
Brando, I'm great, man. I'm great. Thank you for having me on yet again. It's been way too long.
It really has been. I feel you maybe, I don't know, we could go back and check the records, but you probably are the leading guest of all time
I would hope
on the
so. I'd
podcast.
like to keep that record. I would
Yeah,
like to keep that record.
you've been maintaining it. The tanks have been wearing out as a
I, I,
result,
I
but
am never not in the tank for the podcast. That Villanova snapback, the tank
yeah,
needs to come on every time I'm on.
it's funny. Joe went to the Padres game like a couple
Yep.
months ago, and she's like, "What size hat are you?" I'm like, "What do you mean size hat? Like, you got to go the snapback."
That's the
Especially
just
these days, I feel like my head's changing sizes
yep.
constantly.
Yep. I only have one or two non-snapbacks now, Brand. I don't care. I will always wear them. I don't care if I'm old. We'll always have them.
Oh, I'm team snapback all the way,
Yes.
hundred
Yes.
percent.
Yep. Absolutely.
But we know there's been a lot going on. There's been a lot of pods, a lot of rebuttals to the pods. But I have a feeling I know something that you've been talking to me on the side about. We've been talking in our side chat with Jimmy. We do
Yep.
have a side chat with Jimmy and on the message board, and that's the trade market. And I know you want to talk today a lot about the trade market, where it sits, certain teams who maybe are on the fence, or you're going to kind of give your opinion on what direction they should be going, not this year, not at the trade deadline, right now.
Right now, Bran, roadmap for the pod today
Love it.
is three separate buyers. And we're going to ask the question, who are the sellers? Who are the sellers that have the pieces for these buyers? So we're going to dig in. I've done a lot of soul searching uh, through the league. I've got my notes in front of me right here, right here. Always
Yep.
typing away on my notes, and probably
Do you
not paying
do you
attention enough to the kids
do you
while
have
taking notes.
analytics?
I have
Do you have
analytics. You know what? No, you know what? I want to pause, and I do want to acknowledge. Um, thank God John Einell's in this league. That's all I gotta say.
yeah.
Thank God he's in this league. He has. I I can't. I don't even have words for this man. But I am very happy he's in this league. When we eventually remove Travers, it will be a sad
When
day. But Travers won't know until like week 5 of that season. So he's gonna be gone for like 8 months. No idea. He's to be perfectly clear, Travers is a very successful band. Very catchy tunes. Okay. And he's got a lot of kids now. He's got a lot of things going on. So I'm very happy John Inell, super active. He's got a plan. John, we're not going to talk about you today. It's not about you today. Okay. You are not in the bucket of buyers. I'm sorry.
he might be
Um,
relieved to not have the podcast
I,
about him for
I
the first
think,
time.
John, I'm not going to talk about your draft. I'm not going to talk about your trades. You are on the shelf today. You're on the shelf today. The other people who are on the shelf today, Bran, are John Iannello, Jimmy, because no one wants to talk about Jimmy. Jimmy is 3P. Jimmy's roster. He doesn't need to do anything. I've talked to Jimmy. He doesn't need to do anything. Jimmy and I are about to log serious hours, and I hope everyone has pre-ordered NCAA 25. Boomer Brando does not like video games. There's no video games in his house. He's not focused on it. You can get the all access pre MVP bundle with promo code DietZ. Okay, just check out DietZ, 75% off, guaranteed to work. If it doesn't, please contact Brando. Okay,
Hashtag
that's
not a
it.
sponsor.
Hashtag not a sponsor, but that is my promo code for all of you.
Okay.
We're about to get seriously into that, Jimmy and I, but Jimmy doesn't need to do anything. So John I know Jimmy doesn't need to do anything. John B has made his moves. Does John B have any more draft picks left? I don't think so, Bran.
Like 2027
I,
plus
I
thirds and
maybe
fourths.
the 27th is back, and I'm gonna check quickly here, live checking on the pod. Yeah, the only meaningful, I'm not counting thirds and fours. I know some people value those in this league. We might get to that later. Yeah, the only first and second round picks are in 2027, which we just got. So John B
Yeah.
could be gone. He's cashed in his currency. John
Yeah.
Iannello, Brando, John B, Jimmy. That's four, and Mark. Mark, I'm sorry, today is not your day. I put Mark in the John Allen L bucket. They made a lot of picks recently. They have a lot of youth, but not a lot of depth at all. So I think if any injuries happen to them, this is not their time to buy. And I really don't think they have veterans to sell. Maybe some secondary pieces. I'm just looking quickly at Marks, but he's kind of in it. Mark is 5 second-round picks in 2025. I just want everyone to know that. So he's going to dominate that round. I did that 2 years ago. Hits and misses, Mark. Hits and misses. So today we're going to discuss the other half of the league, which we will get to.
Okay.
I'm excited. I'm excited to jump in, Brent. I'm
All
excited.
right. Who do you want to start with? Because I'll give you the floor as the guest on the pod.
So I
To
think the three buyers for who I think should be going in now, or at least making the intros and saying I'm interested, I'm going to get involved over the next month and a half, are your brother Alex, which I hope he watches. Alex, you need to watch this, my friend. I
he
have a
does watch.
I have a laid out plan for you. It's right here. I did it. All you need to do is sit back and listen and execute. Okay. My buddy, my good buddy, Tam. I don't know if Tam's ever in the country, to be honest, because every time I talk to him, he's not in the country. I don't know what country he's in, but he's not in the country. There's been multiple conversations over the past year. I'm not in the country. I'm traveling. I'm like, oh, I never know. He is a man of mystery at that Tam. Haven't seen him in a couple of years now. I miss him. He's in Connecticut, right?
He is yeah, he actually works at the Hartford office.
The Hartford.
The
The
Hartford
Hartford
office.
office. Okay.
Not the Hartford. He
Oh,
works at
okay.
it
All right.
doesn't matter.
Hartford. Yeah, whatever. Don't care. And last but not least, he's gonna hate to hear this. And I know he's screaming right now, saying it's not me. Please don't. John Canellis. Mr. John Canellis. Championship year one. Your time is now, my friend. But we will get
Big
to you.
John.
Three buyers. Okay, but in order to buy, you need a seller brand. And that brings us to our first team, who is the, I think, only obvious seller, and it's Eddie.
Step right up.
My buddy Eddie. Let's break it down, Brent. So I would say most important, it's a half PPR league, right?
Hmm.
Quarterback points matter more in half compared to full because positional players score a little bit less compared to the quarterback. And we have a 6 point throwing TD adjustment
Yeah.
instead of the usual 4. Quarterbacks and superflex are very important. I know our buddy Jason Moore, I don't know if you listened to this Dynasty episode, he doesn't believe they're important. He took the Eddie route and said they're not important. I can get by with maybe one guy. Um, I don't believe that. I go by like you need a couple guys. I think you need a couple. I think you need 2 top 12s in order to be relevant. Now look at our past champion Jimmy, right? Hurts, Burrow, 2 top 8 quarterbacks, right? But Hurts has been propped
Goff has
up
been
by
top 10 the last 2 years
and Goff
too.
as a QB3 has been top 10. So he has had probably the best QB trio in the league by far, right? And Hurts has been propped up by the stupid high rushing touchdowns. Now I can't really talk because Josh Allen earns those goddamn rushing touchdowns, okay?
He's not
Hurts
getting his
just
little tush
there's
push.
no tush push for Josh Allen, okay? Um, but it really does matter with those quarterbacks. And he's got what? Baker, Carr, Kenny Pickett, endless. Dead
Kenny
air.
Pickett is Kenny Pickett
He
is still owned.
he's still owned and on the team. Unfortunately, right? We're probably Baker will probably I don't know Baker's contract status. I don't know if you do, Brando. I think he'll be there for the next 2 years. I think.
I think it's pretty good bet for two
Yeah.
years, but
And
surprisingly, like it, I feel like they could get out of it next year.
yeah,
Like it
if
wasn't that big,
right.
but
And
we'll call it 2 years.
he is a what did he do? I'm looking at his QB stats now. He was QB 10 last year. Did really well. That's a great year for Baker. But before that, 29, 25, 18, 18, 60.
The best
That is
season of
on
his career.
best season. Now he lost his Canales, Dave Canales, right?
Hmm.
Now
The
coach of the
offensive coordinator.
offensive coordinator, who did a really good job. Was he with Geno before in Seattle? I think.
He was,
I
yeah.
think. I
So
think
he's
in
resurrected Gino and Baker, and now
QB
it's
guy. And now he's
Bryce
head coach at
Young.
Carolina. So now he's gone. I don't know who the new OC is in Tampa, off the top of my head, but Baker's probably what was he 28, 29. He's probably gonna be relevant the next few years. I think he's a good, like, you can slot him into your QB3 position and feel good about it. So Eddie doesn't have QB1 or QB2. He's got Baker as a QB3, nice depth piece. Derek Carr is probably on very thin ice at 33 years old. I don't know the contract implications for him. When if he's gone, I all right. I did say I was not going to talk about John Inella. I did, you know what? But
Spencer
I'm breaking the
Rattler,
rule.
is this getting
I'm
into
breaking the rule, Brent. I'm thinking breaking the rule already. Spencer Rattler could push for this job, and I don't want to say this, but Jake Hayner has gotten a little bit of pumped in camp. But I don't know Jake Hayner. I don't know who Jake Hayner is. I don't want to. He did well to Senior Bowl 2 years ago. He's also on the roster.
Isn't he tiny?
Yeah, weaker arm, but like good decision making. Solid guy. You know, I think Bedard liked him a little bit, but I I like
Yeah.
Rattler's got the upside. Okay.
Okay.
I think if Derek Carr struggles, I don't think anybody likes Derek Carr. It doesn't seem like he generally gets along with his teammates. I know he had issues in Oakland, right, with the Raiders. Um, he finished as QB 16, 17, 13, 14, 17, 20, 19, 12, 14, 20. That is who he is. He is a perpetual 15 to 20 quarterback from now on. So he's below Baker. He's probably got less because I mean I know he has Chris Olave, and I know they had a weird offense last year, but he's like fighting for that QB. So you don't have high end outlook for Eddie at
As
QB.
the Chris Olave owner,
I know
Derek Carr blows.
he does.
He's horrible. Like
He's not good.
he completely melts under
He
pressure.
does.
The entire league knows that's the
Yes.
book on him and calls
He
him out for it.
yes.
You saw like look at Alvin Kamara's catches in a partial season last year.
Yes.
Every play is Carr going back there, shitting his pants, and then dumping off to Kamara on a quick
So
route.
there's
It's so frustrating watching
correct.
that
And
offense.
that's why I am I'm nervous Alvin for me personally, and not we're gonna get to Alex, who has Alvin Kamara. You look at that team, I have Kendrick Miller, and I'm like, I know Kendrick Miller is a better runner than Alvin Kamara. His efficiency running the football has not been good. I mean, going down for years now. But that wasn't his game, but he's not good at it anymore. I think Kendrick Miller should get that shot. Alvin Kamara is still functional as a check down back. That's all Derek Carr does. Remember the Darren Waller year? He got like 200 plus targets or something
It's
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
But
Yeah.
they also played the Patriots that year, and all they did was double cover Darren Waller. Like they bracketed him, and Derek Carr
Yes.
couldn't do anything, and they just melted, and we beat the crap out of the Raiders.
Yeah. But
Um,
I have to sidetrack for one
yeah,
second. I
sorry.
brought up Derek Carr's
Yes,
contract,
yep.
and I know the Saints kind of play games with the salary cap.
How egregious? How egregious is it?
Ben, they this year, if they were like, let's say like this year, they took the
Yeah.
dead cap, 62 million. And
Next
then you
year,
think to yourself, like,
well,
okay, get rid
well,
of
maybe
him maybe next year. Next year, $50 million dead cap,
does it get better in year 3, 3 years, 2 years from now?
28 million
Holy
in 2026.
smokes!
That doesn't mean he's got look, the way the Saints do it, they can just kind of they might find a way to spread that around. I don't know.
So
But
but
financially, he's got some backing.
to be fair, he could be a functional QB3 on a fantasy football team for Eddie. So like Baker and Carr like fill that slot together, but there's no upside, zero upside there for his QB1 and QB2 spots.
And
Correct?
who wants them? Who's trading for them?
No. No, during the season, Eddie, if somebody comes to you for Baker, gone. Okay, Eddie needs to trade these guys away. I think Eddie, and let's let's go higher level with Eddie's team.
Okay.
Eddie is you said this, you might have said this last pod or 2 pods ago. Eddie has the most wins historically, and I think it's regular season. I don't know if it includes playoff wins. Historically,
Yeah.
he has the most wins over the first 3 years in this league, regular season. Now that will change this year, but I just want to give Eddie credit and say Eddie went RB heavy, and that's not my game. That's not. I mean, that's I didn't. Really, none of us knew what we were doing starting up at this league, but he went RB heavy, and he was always competitive. looking back, and I wanted to say this about Eddie's team is Eddie, I think the one thing you could have done was buy in. I think you could have bought in more, um, and try to push more chips in with your picks. And I think that's a message for everyone is like, and when we get to three buyers, is like, if it's your time, you got to go. You got to push because the playoffs are crazy. You just got to make the playoffs, and anything can happen. I mean, Jimmy can dominate till get the bye, but anything can happen, Brand. As we know, my crazy
Yeah.
injuries this past year proved it, right? Like you and I were going and moving, and then Jimmy got some crazy good breaks. David Njoku, I won't even get in. I can't even talk
Well,
about it.
and to your point on Edwin too, I remember the first draft, he had two first round picks,
Yeah.
late first round picks.
Yep.
He picked Sky Moore and Kenny Pickett.
So those,
Imagine if he took that draft capital and
yeah,
cashed it out for some
for
veterans to help in that second year where he
exactly,
made the
Brent.
finals.
Exactly, Brent. So and even Eddie admitted on the pod is like, I don't dig in a ton to rookies. Like Eddie listens to podcasts, and I'm sure and looks at rankings and things like that. But I think, for someone you can now, I think to a lesser degree, Alex doesn't even know who these people are, right? But Alex can identify and be like, that guy's good at fantasy football. That's not hard to say, you know. And we'll get to Alex, but like, if you're not invested in I think if we can get past, sorry, we could go 2 hours and do this pod, Brand, but I do have an analysis of the 2022 rookie draft, and I think it's going to show everyone, wow, it really is a crapshoot, and it is top heavy, guys. Like these later round picks are complete dart throws, and many of them are just irrelevant after 2 years. Um, but we shall get there. I'm going back to Eddie and saying I thought he did a good job. I think again, the buying in more, I think, is the message here. When your time is here and you have, he had running backs, right? They have a shortened, condensed window. And when they're in, he's got, who are the vets left? Devontae Adams. He sold, going back, his trade with who did he trade? Did he trade Kittle?
He
Was
traded
that
Kittle early in the offseason
right?
to John C. It was
The
he got
John
a good
Canales trade.
return.
Good,
Yeah.
that was a great trade. And that's what Eddie needs to do more of, but there needs to be willing buyers as well.
Yeah.
But for Eddie to rebuild, I'll go back to the now going. I gave you some props, Ed. I had to keep it going. Eddie's got a young kid now, very young child, number two. He's busy, so I want to keep his spirits high, and I want hope, Eddie. I want you to see hope in the distance. You got to get those quarterbacks, and the only way to get those really high end quarterbacks is it's super hard to trade for them, right? Got to do them in the draft, right? Got to do it in the draft. You got it, and outside of the startup draft, you got to invest first round capital in the high end guys. So you got to get first round picks, and you got to find a way to move up within the draft. Is my thought process. So you just got to get as many shots as the board as you can. He's the number one seller. He's got to fill that QB1, QB2 spot. He's got QB3 kind of figured out. Seems like Derek Carr is going to be playing for a little while. So I think Baker and Derek Carr are going to fill those places. Now, if you want to look at high level, what are his core guys that could be here next year that make a difference, or could be here in 2 years, let's just say?
Vonta Smith, end of list.
End of list. Unfortunately, I think that's it. Devontae Smith is a stud. We all know that. Unfortunately, he also plays with a much bigger, more muscular stud in AJ Brown. Don't tell Jimmy. But that is really it. That's his core. So he's got many spots to fill, but he has many usable veterans today that people who need to buy. And we can transition, Brand, that there's many good targets on this roster.
Mhm.
And for Eddie's draft capital currently, he's got 2 firsts and a fourth next year. He's got 2 firsts and 26. So he's got some capital. So he's gaining capital. I think he's got a plan for the next two drafts, because I think this is a 2-year rebuild for Eddie. That would be
It's a
my
good
plan.
it's a good
Good
start. I
start.
do want to say so he's got his own first in each draft.
Yep.
But then he's got my first that is based off this year, my performance.
Right.
And then the next year he has a 2026 first from John
John
B.
B. And John B
And
has a
so
younger, good team who's going to
yeah,
be relevant next year, who's going to make the playoffs. So you're out of the
I
lottery.
I
Brand,
don't
making the
barring
playoffs.
injuries, those are not lottery
No,
picks.
those are not lottery
So he's
picks,
looking
man.
at his own lottery pick and a mid to late first.
So what Eddie's got to do, he's got to get creative in the draft. He's got to trade up. You know what I mean? He's got to get second rounders. He's got to get ammo, and he's just got to move up. You got to identify. And Eddie, I know you're not a rookie guy, but like you're gonna become a rookie guy because I think what I did 2 years ago can show you that after a year of going in and then just shelling veterans, I was able to reload. And I want Eddie to see this and say, "Hey, all right, what did DietZ? DietZ shelled out veterans and like CJ Stroud, stud, very good player. Sam Laporta and Dalton Kincaid are looking like very good tight end prospects right now that are going to help me not just in the tight ends. I mean, they're going to start in flex spots, Brent.
Yeah.
So I think those two right there, and then I have younger shots at running back. I have JSN in the wings. Hopefully he produced. So it's like I just took shots, and Stroud was much better than everyone thought, and now he's my QB2 with Josh Allen, and I can produce. Um, so with that, I think we can move to my first buyer, who
Okay.
is Alex.
I'm fine if he doesn't buy, by the way. I
I
know
know,
my
I
main
know.
my main competitor.
This is also my other pitch is like, um, it's you in that division, right? There is
His history.
there is you, and then we have John Einelt. John, it's not your year, bud. I know in the last pod, I I audibly laughed when I think you were half joke. I think you were only half joking though. It's like I got rookies second half of the year if they get hot. John, let's. I said I wasn't going to talk about John.
Here we go.
I said I wasn't going to talk about John. Hey John, starting lineup. Let's go through it. It looks great. It's sexy. It's sexy names, Brand. Caleb Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kenny Walker, Marvin Harrison Jr., DJ Moore, George Kittle, little veteran pickup,
I
James
didn't
Cook,
understand that one, but
yeah, Xavier Worthy. Let's see how many targets he gets. See how effective he is. Jake Ferguson in a flex. Wait a second. Jaden Daniels in the
we're getting
super
a little thinner.
flex. Okay, hold on. We got Drake. Hey, we got Drake May and Daniel Jones. Little quarterback depth there. I like it. Jarrett Stidham, not so much. Justin Fields, it ain't it, brother. It's not happening. I'm sorry. You gotta take the L, John. The only thing I just need you to accept the L on that trade. You can go back and look at all the stats you want. Justin Fields is not a good actual quarterback in the NFL. He's not going to get jobs. That's what happens. He can get all the
Yeah.
fantasy points he wants and runs as a running back. They do not care because that does not win football games. You have to acknowledge that. He's not starting it. He might start. I mean, maybe he takes over for us. I don't think it's happening. Rasheen Ali, Justice Hill, Roman Wilson, Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel's a nice name. I think that's a veteran he could trade. Josh Reynolds, Tim Patrick, Bo Melton, Rashid Shaheed. Rashid Shaheed could be a nice option, except guess what? Derek Carr's quarterback for however long.
He's a
No,
situational deep threat. I gotta throw.
maybe
I
some
know I'm the
depth.
Chris Olave owner,
I,
but let's throw a little cold water on
yeah,
Rashid
yeah, yeah.
Shaheed.
He's not. I
Like
know people are pumping him up. Noah Fant could be a tight end too, maybe in someone's world. Noah Gray, Eric Gray, Xavier Gibson, Marshawn Lloyd. I'm not a Marshawn Lloyd guy. Javon Baker. Okay. He's starting Xavier Worthy and Jake Ferguson and two rookie quarterbacks. High end, it's not happening this year. John, you're a lottery team. Congrats. You can look at rookies for next year. So that's
it's almost a bad thing if it happens for him this year.
he shouldn't want this year, and he should just shed anyone veteran like Curtis Samuel. If he becomes a dude like a decent dude in Buffalo, get rid of him, John. For you, Bran, you're going against that, and then you're going against Tam. I'll get to Tam. Tam, I got you, buddy. Alex is here in the wings, and there's John Canels. So honestly, Bran, I apologize, but I picked the three out of four other teams in your division to buy because there's
Someone's
an
got to.
opportunity.
Someone's got to do it. Someone's got to even the
Someone's got
league
to
here.
challenge you. Okay, someone's got to challenge you. So let's go back to Alex. I I think this is his time, and I really do want him to go in here because he's got a solid QB room in Brock Purdy, Tua, Deshaun Watson. That is going to be consistent and just solid. I don't think there's any superstars there, Brand, right? Tua always slows down after the beginning of the year because they start figuring out Mike McDaniel's offense. and cold weather stuff, you know. But Brock Purdy is just he was what QB6 last year. Like he
He's
was
got the Shanahan offense
it
quarterbacks, just
just
like
rubs
benefiting off the
just
symptoms.
rub
Yeah.
that all over him. I think the QB room is solid. He has that. They're like you in your head. They're like oh they're like low end QB1 like QB2 guys, but they actually have produced to low end QB1, and I think Brock Purdy will never be higher than QB6 ever again. But that's a good room, right? And then his running backs: Jonathan Taylor, Rashad White, Alvin Kamara, Raheem Mostert, Brian Robinson, Zach Moss. That is 6 names right there. Good, solid group.
A
Older
lot of
guys,
volume guys. A lot of volume.
volume, volume,
Yeah.
but so that's where this runs gets a little problematic. JT is a very, very good player, right? Rashad White is not a good rusher of the football. He is not. He's not good at it, but he's
New
extremely good at
offensive
catching it.
coordinator there
New
too.
offensive coordinator. They
Liam
drafted.
Cohn, by the way,
Okay, thank you. They
from
drafted Bucky
from the
Irving.
Rams.
They drafted Bucky Irving. I don't think he's going to get as much volume. I think he's a good player. That was a second round pick by Alex, who I guarantee he had no idea what the hell he was doing. So we're gonna move on past that. Alvin Kamara is done in New Orleans after this year because I have looked at that contract as the Kendrick Miller owner, and that balloons to like $26 million cap hit, and they can get out of it. He's
Isn't he
gone.
asking for more cash?
I don't know why, Brand. I have no idea. I don't know what's going on. He left minicamp because he was angry. I go, he's paid like top five, and it's the dumbest contract. That team is a mess. Um, so Rashad White had his career year. It's not happening again. Alvin Kamara is on a deep decline and is gone off the Saints next year and can disappear. Raheem Mostert has like horseshoe up his butt last year, and he was very good, right? He could be very good again, but he's 33 years old. He's like multiple years above 30. And then we have Zach Moss, who has the job this year of carrying the football for a good offense.
Does he?
I
We don't
think.
have to get into it.
I don't like Chase Brown. I'm
I
not a Chase Brown guy, but there are
the
guys here, Brent.
Miles Sanders. This year's Miles Sanders. I'll
Yeah.
leave it at that.
Okay, that's fair. Don't bring that up. I think this is a deep, decent group, but I think he's got a short window here. And then if you go to his wide receivers, you got Jamar Chase, stud, Debo, who if he leaves the 49ers, I don't know what happens to his production because I mean, unless it goes to a Shanahan team, but I do think he's the one that will get. I think he's the one that will. I think I would pay Ayuk. I know Deep's already gotten paid, but I don't know how long that window is. Amari Cooper's getting up there. He's getting up there, and I think that's coming to an end soon. I don't know what year he's in, but I know year 10 is that year with wide receivers that it just starts getting like they just precipitously drop off in terms of their regular production. Lad McConkey, I think, is a solid pick. And I know he's got Josh Downs. Anyone else? I have Watson here. Why do I have Watson?
Christian Watson,
Christian Watson. Okay.
who's
Again,
interesting.
who's a good,
He's
interesting player. That is a
yeah.
good, interesting, deeper player. And I sit there and I'm looking at this team and I go like, oh wow, this is actually pretty solid. So, but you have some guys who the windows are short with the running back group and there. The biggest hole in the team, which was driving me nuts, and this is a me problem, his tight end. Dalton Schultz. That's it. There's now
Serviceable.
serviceable, no upside, and you can easily upgrade at this bit. Like this is a screaming buy, because Alex, you don't pay attention to the draft and rookies. You don't care, and you have been a good team because you drafted a good startup. You had a really good startup draft, and you've just
He's
picked the
Jimmy
hot.
without the effort after.
Yes, Jimmy without the effort. This is incredible to me. So he could buy. This is where I come in. Okay, we haven't talked about me yet. He could buy the number one tight end, and I think I think in the fantasy footballers, I think Travis Kelce's number one tight end. Fantasy Pros has him number two. He could have him for a decent price, but when I try to negotiate in good faith, and I get I'll give you a 26-second for Kelsey and Lockett. No, no, not even, like, come on. Like, no, Alex. And he knew it. I'm literally, and
Yeah,
for people who weren't there, I'm negotiating in the 10 to
I
try
think
to
he
get
was
this done.
smirking when he said
He
it.
was smirking because he knew it just pissed me off. I had to walk away. I was many drinks deep at that point. I had to walk away. But Alex doesn't do rookies. So like, why does he care about picks in his head? So I'm not trying to rip him. I'm like 2 first-round picks for Kelsey. Give me a first-round pick for Kelsey. I know how old he is, but guess what, dude? He's gonna be much better than Dalton Schultz. Okay, much better than Dalton Schultz, and that is the obvious need in my opinion, Brian. I don't know how you feel about it, but I think he has the running backs and wide receivers. Maybe he adds like a depth piece at wide receiver, but I don't know if you need it's really just tight end, and I think a little sprinkling, a little depth, and I think he's running. I think he's running. I don't know how you feel, but that's how I feel with him.
It's interesting because he's done something similar to what Edwin's done. I know he had that big buy with the Amari Cooper, Adam
Thielen.
Thielen,
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
ended up being a bit of a disaster trade for him with Travers because he gave up what was a lottery pick. But in general, you look at some of the picks he's made. He, Josh Downs was a good pick. Christian Watson in the early second worked out. I would say just based on the production he got from Rashad White in that
Very good.
2022 draft, that's a good pick.
Stud production at running back. So he takes the highest got ranked guy. That's
And it's and I think it's worked out for him. And
yeah.
he looked at the draft and said, well, I'll solve my tight end position with Ben Sanat and Jatavian Sanders.
Which I can guarantee you he doesn't know who they are.
All I know is it wasn't a very strong tight end class.
It was not. After
It
a
was Brock
historic
Bowers. Yeah.
and then very much a
It
huge drop off from that.
they're worth shots. The
Yes.
value was fine.
Third were they third round picks? Third round picks, right?
They were third round picks.
Yeah. So that's good.
But I don't think either one is solving the position this
No,
year. Rookie
no,
tight ends, it's very rare. I know Laporta did it. Even Kincaid was not a guy you really
no,
wanted to start last year in
no,
fantasy,
no, you
you
didn't.
know?
I tried. You know, they
Yeah.
started to figure him out at the end of the year with like, oh, we can send him further down the field. We should try that. Try that more. But like Sam Laporta is the outlier. Okay. So he's throwing darts at the wall, that's fine. But like again, his windows are shorter on the running backs for sure. Um, I think it's time's now to buy a tight end. And Eddie doesn't have the guys. And we have we have gone through the league of like, okay, I'm talking about 3 buyers. John Inel and Mark are out. That's 5. Um, the 3 contenders are Brando, John B, Jimmy. That leaves me and Eddie. So that and I'm saying this about me is I am in a space where I'm willing to make deals. I've inquired about buying a little, but I am here to kind of and I can see you, Jimmy. I can literally see your face right now in the camera. I see it. Look, don't cash DietZ out. Don't cash them out, these veterans. You guys are idiots, cash them out. I'm like, Jim, I'm not asking for a ridiculous price here. I'm trying to get fair or like even-ish trade here because look, I drafted Dalton Kincaid, Sam Laporta. Okay, I'm set. I'm pretty good.
You yeah.
Pretty good there. So Alex, imagine this. The biggest middle finger to this entire league will be somehow you winning the title after not paying attention all off season, and you just beat Jimmy to end his dynasty on the back of your current team and an actually good tight end in Travis Kelce, and you're gonna give up draft picks who you have no idea who these guys are. That's my sell to you.
Are we
Eddie
making
doesn't
an
Eddie doesn't have the
on-pod
guys.
offer? An on-pod
Brand,
offer?
where let's no, Brand. Market to you, not what you have on your team, but like market-ish pricing for Travis Kelce right now in your head. I won't even say you go first.
I think if it's a straight up pick, it would be an early 2. If it's just an unknown 2, like a 2 plus.
I agree. I've tried to package him to try to get a little more return for Alex. Like Alex could buy depth, right? Like, all right, Alex. That's why I threw in Lockett. I said like Lockett could be productive this year. Could he be like wide receiver 30 and be productive on like depth pieces for him? Sure. Um, and that's why the 22nd too, I'm like, dude, that's not like you gotta offer
Well,
me.
26 is a ways out.
Yeah,
It would probably need to be a 20. So I'm looking at his picks.
yeah, right. Because he
He's got a
has
25 second, but it's mine.
yours,
So it's like
which
that's
is the bottom of the second, right? Now, could I do that and do like a pick swap with him?
mhm.
Maybe to get creative. Um, something to that effect. That's where I'm trying to think about here. Uh, is what can I do with him to make this work? But that
He's
would
got
be
John B's first too. He's got his own
that
and
is
John B's
that
first.
and that's why I'd be like, okay, well, Alex could easily finish ahead of John B, right? Like there is a world where that happened. Not easily, John B. I'm not trying to piss you
Yeah.
off. I'm just saying there is a world where Alex is competitive. He finishes second in your division, and John B get everything knows in the playoffs. John B gets bounced
Oh,
first
for
round.
sure.
So like
Yeah.
John B's is actually so he could gamble with that. And what do I have? I don't even know the picks. Do I have a 25 second? I feel like I do. I have mine. So that's lower. So there is a could something be figured out? Do I need to add more juice to sure, but like something like that, Brand, is
Okay.
where I'm at. And everyone who's saying I'm trying to get it, guys, I literally have Sam McCoy now if I can't get it done, I'm gonna keep Travis Kelsey, right? And he's gonna start for me. So because I know he's the security blanket. So
Yeah.
that's my Alex spiel. It's so obvious to me. Um,
The one
I,
thing that's hurting you,
yeah,
am I
go.
allowed to say it on the
Oh,
pod?
go. Yep,
I know there's a little bit of a surplus of available tight ends.
correct.
And the name
I
of
think.
heard on the market is
Yeah,
Evan Ingram, and that Mark would be open to moving Evan Ingram and
who's
has mentioned
younger.
to me Alex as a target.
There you go.
So,
So competition right there. So
yeah,
Evan Ingram probably doesn't have the ceiling that Travis Kelsey has because of target competition within the
right.
Jags offense. I think now with Brian Thomas, Gabe Day, I don't know. I mean, he's going to get targets, 100%, but he just didn't get touchdowns last year. Um, but that is something Alex could buy. But in my opinion, I shoot
You know,
higher.
Mark's not doing it for less than a second.
No,
Mark doesn't take anything for less than a
no.
second. And then at that price, I'd rather add something in with the second for
It
Travis
just
Kelsey.
you might as and with if and no offense, Alex went yet again, but like you don't care because you don't know these guys. He doesn't know. So that's where I'm at. And but that's a fair point. So yes, Jimmy, suck it.
I,
There is a
I,
market.
mini tangent. I thought George Kittle going for a second in this year's draft was a horrendous overpay from John Iannello. I I know Kittle like has those upside games, but
Yes,
his consistency score every year is
up
hot
and down,
garbage,
up and down.
and he's wearing down. He gets injured all the time
He is
now.
very injured. Yeah.
He's like the fourth target in the offense. Like trading the 208 for George Kittle. And I don't know what you would have taken. Maybe the 208's not enough, Ben. But is the 208 a starting point for Travis
Yeah,
Kelsey? I would
probably.
rather use it that way personally.
Yes. And that's why I went to when he had Mahomes. I approached John, and I think John was like, "Yeah, I'll," or he told me to f off, and I can't remember if he was actually like contemplated. Um, yes, yes, I would agree. Sorry, John. Brando brought you up. I didn't bring you up. I want that on the record.
All right, so
Um,
we
so
have Alex.
yeah,
Is
Alex.
there
So
anything else on Alex to cover
no,
for his
that
plan?
Alex just
It's
has a gaping like it's so deep. I would call it deep. There are guys at running back, and I think he has enough at like quarterback and wide receiver to be competitive and finish number two in that division. I really do. Everyone's gonna, no offense, John, but like they're gonna beat you up. They're gonna beat you up all year long with the rookies starting, and rookie quarterbacks are gonna struggle, and it's just they're gonna beat you up early on in the year. You're just it's gonna be tough. So no, with Alex, no. I will go to a more positive conversation is this is my Tam's path to greatness. Okay, Tam, this is where the fun begins because I
I'm
think
just excited that there's a path because I feel like he's just you know what he it was my favorite ride at water parks, Ben, and knowing my personality, you can probably guess it. He's been on the lazy river since the start
I know
of our league.
it's been
He
a
has been
tough.
floating on the lazy river,
The tubes are
making
fun.
easy sells and just
Just
floating on the tubes. It's time to
just
get out, go to the wave pool at least. At
I
least go to the
think
wave pool.
I think Tam's adventurous. I think he's ready. Okay, Tam. This is where
Okay.
we let's start at a high level. Let's start quarterback. AR-15. Huge fan. humongous fan. Okay, he's ready, and he's getting steamed up to crazy heights right now, Tam. But he's probably a top 8 quarterback. Let's set that floor, Brand. Right, if he's healthy, top 8 with the rushing capability.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. Brand's like, yeah, top 5, top 3. He's unbelievable with that. Now his pass needs to be more consistent, but I do believe Brand Shane Steichen. He's a weirdo, but
done.
my God, is he smart and knows what he's doing. And
Look what he did with Jalen Hurts, who isn't
obvious,
good.
obviously, he was the guy on that offense, and it's very obvious now who was actually helping Hurts and pointing him in the right direction and making the right moves. And he was the guy. And now he's doing it if they are. If he can stay healthy, good dude. T Law, my God, the number I've been shown the number of Calvin Ridley drop touchdowns. I'm sorry, John B, but like clang off the hands. Thank God the Patriots did not sign him. I want that. T Law is going to have a solid year, top 10 quarterback in my opinion. You check. Quarterback 1, quarterback 2. You got Russ as QB3. Eat fine. As a backup, Brand, he's going to keep the job. He is the starter for the Steelers. And then you got
Arthur Smith wants to run the ball, and
it just can
he
he get
doesn't
you
want to become
15
one
points?
dimensional.
Can he get you 15 points in a pinch? Maybe. Good. Solid. And he's got Michael Penix in the background now. Great pick, in my opinion. So we got that. We're checked off at quarterback. We don't need to worry about drafting more quarterbacks. I think
I
Tam is
agree.
locked in, ready to go. T-Law got the bag. AR's on his rookie contract. Russ is great QB3 with Penix waiting in the wings. You're set, Tam.
Penix
You're
will
good to
cover
go.
whenever Russ isn't starting, whenever
Correct.
that happens.
Brees Hall, stud. Lotto pick for Tam. Easy 101. Done. Market. He's unbelievable. I loved him coming out. So Jonathan Brooks, I think, start slow. You're going to need to go take his slot with this ACL, but a good player in the obvious number running back 1 in this class. He was the talented guy. The ACL screwed it up. Then you got Zamir White. I think he will get the volume. I think he will be playable. But this was a 3rd round pick by Tam 2 years ago or 3 years ago now. So this is very nice, convenient thing to happen for Tam. A little bit of a surprise here. Now, I think when you go to running back 4, you got Dobbins, and he drafted Kamani Vidal. Okay, who knows? Maybe one of them gets the ball there, and Gus Edwards. They're going to run the hell out of the ball. So I think you got another thing there. And then he's
I saw
crossed his
your
fingers.
eyes glimmer a little bit with
I
Kamani Vidal as a
I
kid.
don't. He could be good. He could be nothing. Okay, he's a 6th round running back from Troy. Who knows? The story, if no one remembers, is I took the worst pick. Sorry, John. John, I know I'm bringing up your name again. It happened. The 401, I took the laugh out loud pick in the draft of Spencer Rattler. John, like, do you know how valuable? Like, do you think Derek Carr is good, John? Do you think Spencer Rattler, who was like at one point the QB1 in his recruiting class, and he got replaced by a guy named Caleb Williams down in Oklahoma. I digress, but I picked him over Kamani Vidal. Kamani Vidal was my pick, but guess what, Brand? 6th round running back. The NFL has told you what they think about this player. Zach Evans. I'm looking Zach Evans right in the eyes and going, I got so excited by Zach
Yeah.
Evans on the Rams. And guess what? They drafted another running back in the 3rd round, and he is probably not going to make the roster. So I don't want to talk about it. But Tam, there is enough here. But you can buy 2 veteran running backs today. You could even buy a better running back today. We're going to get to that. Wide receiver, Malik Neighbors, Jordan Addison, Brian Thomas Jr. You are reshaping your wide receiver core. And then I'm going to add in a little Jameson Williams, a little Cortland Sutton. Okay. And then you added Polk and Burton in the background. It's like you are cooking.
Polk.
You are cooking here. Okay, Tam, like it's gonna be slow to start. And then you got Hawkinson who's hurt. He doesn't have a timetable to return, Brand. I've been reading into it. There's no timetable here. So Tam, there's like you've drafted a lot recently. I did the math. 18 out of 29 roster spots, including the taxi. That is 62% have come from rookie drafts, bud. It's time to buy in. Okay. It is freaking time.
I know it's scary to get out of the lazy river.
Tam, if you have hit, in my opinion, on some lotto picks, which is good, AR-15, Brees Hall, you got Neighbors sitting in here. Addison had a nice little year, even if his touchdown numbers were inflated. I think he can be productive. And now you have Brian Thomas Jr., you got JMO, who could be useful, Cortland Sutton, touchdown guy, you got Polk and Burton in the wings. Hawkins is hurt. So what do you need to buy, Tam? 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, tight end.
Travis Kelce.
Tam, you don't need it anymore, man. You don't need these rookie picks anymore. Like, if you go another year of just sitting and waiting, dude, this is your freaking time. So, who are the trade partners, right? We've already discussed this. No Jimmy, no Brando, no John B. Alex is a contender. John Canelos, we're gonna get to you, bud. You're in, okay? You're freaking in. John I and Mark are on the shelf for this year and are not gonna help you. It's me and Eddie. And Eddie has guys with this too. And this is where Eddie comes in for your buying. Eddie, Tam, you should be going to Eddie. And I just want you to know, you could get King Henry, Pollard, Monty, Javante, Devontae Adams, D-Hop, Jacoby Myers. Go after good teams. You want good teams like Monty has a great offensive line, but obviously Jahmyr Gibbs is a stud. But whatever. But it's like your time, dude, because this division is open. Like if Alex just sits on his hands and does nothing, you could hop him. Like there is a world where your second half with some of these rookies, like you hop now. You need veterans, dude. Like today, you don't need more youth. 62%, Brand. 62% from rookie drafts. So
I'd almost trade some of the youth just to get more ammo and load up. Like
Tam has done it. Like Tam, I want Brand. Can you look up the historical numbers right now? I'm gonna go do it right now too. I'm gonna do this, Tam. Okay, I'm doing it. You know what, Tam? I'm doing this for your own freaking good, brother. I am motivating your ass right now. A little fire underneath it.
I know you're gonna bring up his total wins.
I'm gonna go to total wins. Okay,
half of them might have come against me.
Wait, do we have, is it league history or is it
You
live
can't
on
get
the
it on
pod?
I don't think you can get it on the desktop,
You
which is
can't.
downright hilarious.
League history, is it wins? Oh, here we go. Sorry, all-time standings. Tam, you have won 11 games in 3 years. He's 11 and 31. He's 5
Tough.
games behind John B. Sorry, John B. 11 games in 3 years.
It's tough.
Tam, this is your freaking time, brother. Like you go to Eddie and you go try to figure out your pick, and like you come to me and say like, hey, DietZ, I want to bulk buy, and no problem, Tam. Let's figure out a deal. Hey, do you want Josh Jacobs? And I don't know. Let's see. I forget who's on my team sometimes. Live on the pod, Brand. Joe Mixon's gonna have a phenomenal year. Did I luck into Joe Mixon getting a contract from an
Holy
amazing
crap.
freaking offense? Sure did. But guess what, fellas? He's going to have a great year. And he's always had a great year on a great offense. And this is a better fit for him. Better offense for him with a better fit for him. If you want to buy, Tam, you could come to me and buy a bulk order. You know who I did this with? John Canelos, my
A
friend.
bulk order.
I bulk ordered from John Canelos because I said,
Costco.
F it, I'm going to Costco. I'm going to John Canelos and I'm going to buy. And guess what John did? John turned around, drafted some really good players who we're going to get to. And John's kind of building up his team. John doesn't want to admit he's in a winning period, but we're going to get there, John. Don't worry. Hey, DietZ, can I buy Josh Jacobs and I don't know, buy Josh Jacobs, Eckler, Keenan Allen, Lockett. Be like, okay, they're older guys, but like, Tim, you don't need young guys. Like, you don't need it anymore, dude. Like, you do not need these picks. You could compete today and be the number 2 seed because you can hop Alex. You can hop John Canelos if you buy in and get aggressive. But that's the thing. Tam's got to get
Quarterback
aggressive
room
here.
is impressive for Tam. It really is.
He's got to get aggressive, Brand, and I see it. And I want this guy to, I want a little fire under Tam's ass. That's all I want. Because I think I see it. And I see this, I see the studs on there, and I see the rising second half rookies. John Iannello. John Iannello, name I wasn't going to bring up again. Second half rookies come to play. They do. The ones who hit. It's Tam's time. I don't know how you feel. It's Tam's time. So Tam, there is a bulk. You can go to Eddie, you can go to me. There are targets, my friend, for you to look at and to figure out. And I don't, what I think with him, Bran, is like, hey, could me, you, John B, and Jimmy not buy anything for the first half of the season and be like, yeah, we know we're gonna make playoffs, right? Barring injury, right?
Yeah.
Not with Tam. Tam's got to buy now. You got to buy before that middle of August, man, because we're all going to lock in and be like, yep, we're in. We're all going to lock in by the time mini camp, training camp comes. You got to lock in, brother. It's your time. I'm here. I've looked at this roster
I
so
I
much.
think the
It's
one
time.
point I want to add is
Yep,
that
go.
like you could wait for the perfect opportunity. And sometimes you get that. Sometimes you have the perfect startup draft.
Yep.
A la the name we will not name at the moment.
Yeah, thank you.
But like he has Brees Hall, who for right now is like in his prime. It's Brees and Bijan, like they're the running backs everyone
Yes.
wants in redraft.
Yes.
How many times are those still the running backs you want in redraft 3 years down the road?
Stop.
It's not often. Like maybe if you're CMC,
He's already
but
torn
like
his ACL.
my whole point is like I know Brees was a pick in 2012, but
Yep.
like he's already entering his year 3 season as a running back.
Yep.
How many running backs produce after they get that second contract? Like, I'm not saying he won't, but what I'm saying is he's in his prime. You have to capitalize in the prime years with these
Yes.
guys
Th-
and
this is
compete.
this is
This is the time
exactly.
to use him. You
Yeah.
don't sit and wait for the future because
No.
he's probably not going to be Brees Hall if you're going to wait another 2 years.
No. So I'm like, I see it, Bran. I see it the same way. I've looked at that roster and I'm like, Tam, it's your time, bud. But the lack of sellers right now. Now could me like, well, we'll exclude me and Eddie because we'll call them like willing sellers. Could one of you or Jimmy get catastrophic injuries and just have the veterans willing to sell? Yes. John B is different because John B has young guys. So he's not going to want to sell those guys. John B has made his bed. There's no draft picks available. And these guys aren't old. They're kind of in their primes and a little younger. So like he's not shedding those guys. So yeah, could you wait and but Jimmy, if you think Jimmy is going to just like I mean, it would take a lot of injuries to get Jimmy out. Jimmy's going for the 3P. He doesn't care. What the fuck is he? He doesn't care. He's going to keep going. Like so
He's
there's
always a man of value, though. I could see.
I
Remember when he
know
traded
he could
Deontay last year?
he could, and we're gonna get Sean Canales. But it's Tam's time. I know is he out of the country? I don't even know if he's in country. In 2 weeks' time, I want Tam to be contacting Eddie and I and be like, I'm back, I'm here, let's do this. I make a roster of the guys you want and go after him and get him because you can do it, my friend. There is a window here because there's a very dead period of time. So that's my rant on Tam.
I like it.
Yep.
I'll throw in
Um,
a little crumb.
yes.
I'm always listening too. I'm
Brando's
not for
too.
sure not selling,
Okay.
but
Brando's always I know you can't you gotta scratch the itch. I know
don't even come to me if it's gonna be Olave and Garrett Wilson. I had John
don't.
Ionel up my
Oh my
butt
god.
all off season for Olave,
You know,
trying to
John
give me trying to give me Ken Walker. You take your Ken Walker and piss it out the window. Like
John,
not
John,
interested.
John told me he's gonna buy a tight end, which he bought Kittle, which older, but he said he was gonna buy a stud tight end. And as I was leaving, closer to the end, he said to me, he's like, you haven't dealt with me with trading yet. I go, John, I've dealt with you already, but like, and he was referring to Laporta or Kincaid, and I'm like, buddy, like, no, you don't buy those guys. You cannot buy those guys because the price would just be so catastrophic to your team. It's
Yeah.
just it's not worth it.
I've offered Olave in one deal. It was for Lamar Jackson.
There you go.
Like unless I'm
That's
getting
it. You,
one
you
of
might
those
as
guys,
he's
like don't
just too
even
good.
yeah, don't
Too
even
good,
talk.
young. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll I know he's gonna hate. He's gonna hate this. I know he's gonna hate this. But John Canellis, my friend, we're gonna start at the top again. We're gonna start at the top. Okay. I think you had a great draft, brother. I think you had a lot of picks, a lot of good depth brought in. Um, quarterback. The Mahomes trade, masterpiece. Jordan Love trade after hearing him out. Could Jordan Love have longer longevity than Lamar Jackson? Yeah, I see it. So I was willing to listen to John. I'm like, okay, if John's feeling this, I know he's a Packers fan though. That's the problem is that you start you're a little too
Don
close.
Dontavian Wicks is on the block.
Uh, but I think you have your QB1 in Mahomes, QB2 in Jordan Love, and then he's got Rodgers and Levis, who are going to work for you, John, as QB3s. That works. That check. We just did it with Tam. Check. Like you are on the track, my friend. You're here. You're going to compete every week with that quarterback core. Um, let's look at your running back room and see how much runway you have. Najee Harris, not much left, my friend. However, he just got just a gift from the heavens in terms of our friend Arthur Smith running the ball. And guess what? You and Jalen Warren too. So you have the Steelers backfield of a group of teams just going to run the damn ball all the time. So like
They could
you
each
got,
get 250 plus
it's
carries.
just they're just going to run the hell out of the ball. Too effective, useful. Now I think Najee's on his last year of his Steel brand, right? Rookie. They did
Yeah,
not
they
pick up his
turned down
option.
his 5th-year option
They're not
since this is
they're not going to
yeah.
sign him. They're going to get rid of him. So Najee's going to this could be swan song Najee here. And I don't Jalen Warren's a complimentary piece. I still don't believe he's like people call him Austin Eckler. I'm like, dude, there's one Austin Eckler. Okay, let's not get it twisted.
There
Don't come
was
at
one Austin.
don't don't come at my man. Okay. Um, Achan Achan did wonderful things last year. He got hurt. He scored a lot of points in a couple games and stupid high yards per carry, minimum 100 carry. I've heard it all. Uh, okay, you're cooking a little bit. But see the Steelers backfield in Achan. And then you got Trey Benson, good backup too. That could happen second
That was a
half of the
good
year,
pick.
James. That was a very good pick for him. Jalen Wright, I like the pick from Miami, is right there. So you got two younger running backs. You may have to wait a year, but they're there. Okay, they're gonna take they're gonna take over. Najee's gonna go away. He's gonna be a backup somewhere, but like you're gonna ride in those two with H. Now you do have the Jalen Wright H, but he's more the Mostert mold, as I've been told. Um, and I think that's it in terms of running backs. Yeah, that's really it. So it's not super deep. So you might need some bodies there. Wide receiver, Chris Godwin, Deontay Johnson. I will throw in Jerry Judy. Throw them in a bucket, Bran. But kind
Hollywood
of
Brown.
Hollywood Brown, like throw them in a bucket. They're not wide receiver ones in fantasy. I'm just saying this, John.
Yeah.
They're borderline wide receiver twos, right? Wide receiver 3 twos, like from
They're
like 35 to 25. Like you're kind of you sitting
they're
right there.
flex players in our format.
Yeah,
For a
it's
competing team, they're flex players.
right. I'm not counting Romeo Dobbs. I know you're a Green Bay fan. He's just not going to get enough targets. The finishes for him, wide receiver 36. He actually had a pretty good year last year, wide receiver 36. So I don't know. I think that's going to be. He was touchdown dependent. I think right. How many touchdowns did he have last year? He had 8. He had 3. That's going to regress. He's not going to get
Harmon
8.
Harmon calls him the sacrificial X.
I listen.
He just
So,
wants him. He wants him out at the X, just running cardio and not getting
so,
targeted.
and then you have Jerry Judy, who is in a new situation. So there's not high end talent, but there is talent. So there's enough like flex to fill there. Um, but you're in it. Like Chris Godwin's 28. I think he's turned 29 very shortly. Deontay Johnson, I think he's going to have a good year, by the way. I think he'll be a wide receiver too on the Panthers. Hollywood Brown's on a 1 year deal. Hollywood Brown gets hurt, okay, like every year. But he has those games where he goes off. And he's on the Chiefs now. So this could be the year for him. You know, he finishes as a wide receiver 2. He'll miss some games, but have some boom games. Um, you know, I think, can we call Mingo a bust?
I think John would too.
John, I think you would too. You can't win them all, bud. Second round picks in our league are a coin flip. I don't think we're going to get there tonight, but they are a absolute coin flip. Michael Wilson, I don't think he's going to be a useful fantasy asset. I think he's like the number 2 wide receiver in that offense, but I think it's going to be Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride show. And I think Kyler runs, right? And they're going to run the ball.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I do like AD Mitchell. Um,
Whoa.
I do like I like the AD Mitchell pick because you picked him at what? 208.
That was the Kittle. It was Kittle for AG.
That I
I'm not
know.
gonna
That,
do
I
it.
know. I know.
Like
Bring
George
up John.
freaking Kittle.
Yeah. That John. That you should have picked AD. John, I don't know. You should have picked AD Mitchell at that price. That is where you picked him. That is where
Great
you should
trade.
be picking
Great
him.
trade for
Great.
Canellis.
That is a great trade for John Canales, in my opinion. I'm not an AD Mitchell guy, but at that price point, you take it every time. That's why you took your shots in the second. We'll see what happens. And Brock Bowers, I like. I like John. I don't even looking back, I don't even mind the trade up. Okay, like I don't. So I think you have some interesting pieces on your bench. I also think there's a lot of roster. There's a lot of cloggers on this. I won't count Luke Musgrave. I think there's just I don't. I'm a Tucker Craft fan.
Yeah,
We are
yeah.
Tucker guys. Um, I just think there's like John's in this middling area where like okay, well if Alex doesn't do anything and Tam's like if Tam doesn't do anything, Tam's probably going to do better. But I think he's the lottery team again. So I like he'll be on the borderline of playoff if you do nothing, Tam. If you sit there and do nothing, you will be right. You will kind of be in that area, probably be a lottery team again. If you don't do nothing and you actually are active, you make these trades, you can be in easily number two team in this. So the number two spot in this division is up for grabs, in my opinion. Um, John, I think you need. This is the hard part. It's like probably an established running back to pair with not the Pittsburgh and Achan. Um, so I think like, hey, you want Josh Jacobs? Like, yeah, that'd be an established guy you're bringing in. A wide receiver
Ramondre
like
Stevenson.
Ramondre Stevenson would be another one. Established wide receiver you're bringing or running back you're bringing in. I think for wide receiver purposes, like I think it's just depth because it's hard to get those. Could you go to Eddie and try Devontae Adams? Yes. Yeah, you could. Um, but you got let's see. I don't think I gotta look at your draft picks, John. I think you have a normal amount going forward. You only have a first and a fourth next year. So it's like you could wait this out, play this out, Brand. Like he waits the year out, doesn't do anything. Does he become a lottery team? Like could Alex and Tam hop him? I think Alex hops him. And I think Tam could easily do it with no moves,
I
in my
think
opinion. But the
part of the issue
quarterback
you're
room is
looking
so
at
good.
part of the issue you're looking at is I think there are four teams that are strongly in the playoffs, and probably Alex is a fifth.
Yeah,
If no
I
one
know.
does anything, Alex is in
That's
as a fifth.
I think so
If he's
too.
the fifth seed or the sixth seed,
It does.
whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
But there's one spot open, and there's a bunch of teams looking at it as, do I want to be the sixth seed or
Yes.
do I want a lottery pick? And I think
Yep.
that's why there's like this governor on the trade.
Hesitation. Yeah.
That said, I do agree with what you're saying. Number one, Tim's got that opportunity. I totally agree with
Yes.
that.
Tam has it
Number
the
two, though,
most.
with John Canellos, he already made his decision to buy.
He did.
The
He
Mahomes trade was a decision to buy.
yes.
And I think there's maybe some cold feet from there where he's like, oh, maybe this isn't how I saw my rebuild going. But when you clicked the accept button on the
You're
Mahomes
here.
trade, you're here, you're competing, and you're capitalizing on that player.
Yes, because and I think like you're in the window now. I think Jordan Love and Mahomes, you're gonna be in it, John. Like you're just gonna be in it every game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you got Benson, two young Miami Dolphins running backs, right? So it's a good little pipeline you got going. And then the Pittsburgh running back room, it's solid, but you need like one veteran dude, top 15 guy to come and take that place. In my opinion, you should like Devontae Adams could be on, could Keenan Allen, who you once had, who people think Rome Odunze, who I really like, Mark, who I will. Keenan Allen's going to be ball. He earns targets, guys. He was a stud last year. He's going to be good this year. He's going to be
I
effective this year, in my opinion.
I was
So
nervous enough to trade DJ Moore.
there you go. So and I think DJ Moore will get his shots from Caleb, but like Keenan Allen's going to get his. Okay. And also the tight end room for John, I didn't even bring up tight ends, is Cole Kmet, and he's got Brock in the way, right? So Brock starts slow, and Brock could even get some. But for this year, do you trade for an established piece? I went back and forth on John, but he made his bet, and I think that's kind of
I think that's
where,
what it comes down to.
yeah, I think it's like, hey, I want to try to make some moves. I want to go see who I can buy. Um, so yeah, I think those three teams, Brandon, those three is Alex, Tam, John, all should be in the market to buy. Eddie's the obvious seller, but he has a path forward because even looking at Tam, who has lottery picks matter. Let's be real. Lottery picks are the key to getting really damn good rookie talent in terms of Brees Hall, Anthony Richardson. Like two hits in the lottery that Tam got, and it's changed the face of his team. Like that matters. And Eddie will be in the lottery. So Eddie could be the 101. He's probably in the league to be the 101. But he's got established guys. He's got to get rid of them. Like King
Yeah,
Henry
because
could
if
just drag his ass.
we keep saying if
I know.
no one does anything that like who's the
If
sixth seed, it's Edwin. Like
like Eddie hops in and was like, oh
uh-huh.
shit,
Yeah.
I'm making moves. So um yeah, it was a very good exercise to run through with all these teams. And then I'm like, okay, well, and you know what? I'll quickly do this, Brand. It's this 2022 rookie draft review, right? There's 30 slots, 10
Yeah.
picks each round. Hey, I'm gonna say, guess what, guys? 57% of these picks, light them on fire. Get rid of them. 17 guys out of the 30. I will list them. Please tell me if you object to any. I'm going to go fast. Treylon Burks, Sky Moore, Kenny Pickett, Damian Pierce, Isaiah Spiller, David Bell, Desmond Ritter, Alec Pierce, John Mechie, Malik Willis, Tyler Algier, Jalen Tolbert, Wandale Robinson, Khalil Shakir, Tyrion Davis Price, Matt Corral, Pierre Strong. Tell me if anyone on that list is an actual good player to have on your roster and not either roster fodder who maybe gets in your lineup. And if they are in your lineup, you are in trouble or absolutely not even worth rostering anymore. Please go ahead.
The only two that pique my interest are Damian Pierce only because of that rookie year really helped
Yes,
Jimmy. But
correct.
right now, not a player I'm really interested in.
What did they do?
And then,
They saw Mixon was going to get cut and they said, no, 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 no. We want him. We trade for him, and we also give him a contract.
yeah.
2 years.
So I don't really want Damian Pierce going forward, but
No,
just because of the championship,
that's
not to
fine.
use his argument,
I,
the pick helped with the
it
championship. So
did.
like I won't but in terms of looking 2 years down the road,
Yes,
I agree. We can put him in that
that
bucket.
was the 202, friends.
Yeah.
Just so you know,
The other one is Tyler Algier, only because I do
effective.
think some handcuff backs that are effective and talented enough,
Yep.
if things break right, they can be RB2s for you at the drop of a hat. So like a good ownable piece.
Yeah. I had 3 stars next to names where I went, these are arguable. Damian Pierce, Tyler Gier. I had Khalil Shakir on there because he, who I drafted, traded to Tam for a third, is getting steamed up. He could get more targets. Could, maybe. But startable piece right now, no. So
Yeah.
there are guys who, there's a couple guys, maybe you throw them on your bench. No, you're not excited by any of those guys,
Yeah.
right? That's 57% of the league of that draft. Um,
And that's in a 3 round draft.
3 round
Not
draft,
four.
not
Not
four,
four.
not four, three. So there's 4 guys who are on their last chance, kind of last chance year, and so this makes it 21 guys. So that would be 70% of the draft. These 4 guys, Zamir White, who has done nothing, who had a couple good games. No offense to him, it was a 3rd round pick, but like he either wins the job and plays, or he is in a committee role and he's just And then they draft a guy next year, and Zamir White's gone. Right,
This year's Alexander Madison,
that
who funny enough is
is
on the team
his
too.
backup. Yeah, Christian Watson, another good name. Say he pulls his hamstring week 2. See you later.
Yeah.
See you later. Seriously, he has done very little outside of the 4 miracle games he had with Aaron Rodgers in that row. Um, Jameson Williams, last chance, bud. But
Yeah.
he's none of these guys are going to be dominant players. Let's be clear. And by the way, Jahan Dotson, 4 guys right there who you're like, oh, maybe haven't really produced. At one point have been interesting. Obviously, Zamir White is the lowest in terms of draft capital, but Jahan Dotson was 105. I'm sorry, Jameson Williams was 105. Jahan Dotson was 203. Christian Watson 201. So you're top of the second, middle of the first. Like that is 70%, guys. Those three guys are like, okay, like maybe that's 70% of the draft. Like right there, Brand.
It's
Okay.
crazy.
Now let's go to solid guys. Um, these have been guys who have produced, not in the top 12 running back, wide receiver, or like top six tight end. Trey McBride, whose stock is on the rise. Garrett Wilson, who is a good player, but has not produced like I think his highest. He's been a mid two or a wide receiver two, Brian, low wide
He's
receiver
gotten
two.
killed by a situation. I
That's
have
what
to
I mean.
defend.
He's a
Yeah,
phenomenal player, but like let's be real with that. And Drake London, who is phenomenal player, similar
same
to Garrett
thing.
Wilson, same
Yep.
thing. But three players who are like, oh, you saw it with Trey McBride. You see him at times where you're like, oh, definitely three guys, young, good guys, but that's just, they are what they are. Kenny Walker, George Pickens. Okay. Kenny Walker has had good years. Now we have a new coaching staff, and we have Zach Charbonnet, who was drafted in the same round as him. Who the hell knows what he's going to do going forward? George Pickens, John B. He's been in the 30s. He's finished 2 years in a row in the 30s. Who knows what he does in Arthur Smith? So that's another, Brando. We're at 87% of the draft right there. That's
I have to
26
defend my. I
picks.
have to
That's
defend my boy Garrett
That's
Wilson
fine. No,
and
he's
Drake
phenomenal.
London and Drake London. Yeah.
But based on like actual results, like actual finishes,
Oh, it hasn't happened yet.
hasn't
Yeah.
happened,
Yeah.
right? So you're like, oh, they're good, but like, have they helped win a championship? Have like they've had games, but they are not in superstardom yet, right? Not yet. So there's
In the
four.
real on the NFL field, Garrett Wilson is in superstardom.
He is, but
RP.
for fantasy purposes, Brand, he's still, and I get it. I would take both of them happily. They're good
Yeah.
draft picks, but
No,
like
no, no. I have to defend my boy.
you do very good. There's four guys left, and these four guys have done like actual and productive, really good work in terms of fantasy finishes. Chris Olave, he's done
Solid, but
better.
you still feel like there's stuff left on the bone too.
Right. So you're like, he's performed better in terms of fantasy fitness. And James Cook had a top 10, I think he was 10, or he had a top 10 year this year. But he's a guy you're like, okay, is he gonna replicate that? Like he's a smaller back. He's not never gonna get goal line carries. He had a great receptions. Um, so he's good. That was an actual good pick. But look what he did rookie year. John Canales was like, I'm done. Even I traded him.
Yeah.
So the two studs who have finished as like top five finishes are Brees Hall with Tam, who was the 101 in the draft, and then Rashad freaking White,
Or shot
um,
boy.
who is going down in stock because everybody knows he can't run the ball between the tackles. He's just pass
Yeah.
catching Hobson. So like, there's four guys who have actually finished on the year as very good, very productive players. That's four guys on the entire draft. That's like 15%. And three of them were first round picks. One of them was a second round. And then you look at Rashad White and you're like, stock down, right? And then the solid guys, some of them are coming up. So what do you got? You got nine guys who are either solid, very good, star. So that's like your first round, but they're spread out. Most of them have been your first round. Out of those 10 guys, what was it? Nine guys, five of them were first round picks, right? Two of them, three of them were second round picks, and there was one third. Trey McBride was third round pick. He didn't do anything for Jimmy year one. So it just goes to show 2 years later, I know classes are different, um, very different. And it was a bad quarterback class. Let's remember.
Yeah.
So I just want people to jog their memories in terms of rookie. It's like guys like first round, usually pretty good. And then Lotto is very much concentrated to being pretty damn good, but there are still misses there. And then the second round, there's some, but not a ton. Like Mark, like don't bank on your five guys working out for you in the second round, man. If half become good, if two guys become good out of that, that's good return.
Not to mention, like I hate to say this to Mark and Edwin, It's a bad quarterback class coming up.
I
It
didn't want to
is.
mention that. It is not
There's a
good.
reason like
There's a
Dak
reason.
has a ton of
Yes,
leverage over the Cowboys.
they
Like
have to sign him because listen, there is no high end quarterback saving the day. And Eddie, that's why this is a 2 year rebuild, my friend. I have made it a 2 year because there's no high end quarterback talent coming out. There are going to be a couple of guys, but
things can change, but
they're in the Bo
uh,
Nix bill
yeah,
of there's Carson Beck from Georgia who's in like game manager, Brock Purdy-ish. Shador Sanders, who everybody freaking knows because of his father. And he is extremely inconsistent. Quinn Ewers,
sucks and
really
blows.
not good. And he's on the
Har-
cover of NCAA 25. I
all,
just want people to know.
all you have to do is get a reception perception membership, or better yet, don't even just subscribe to the podcast.
That's right.
And
That's right.
Harmon was banging his head against the wall watching
You
Texas
could
last year. He's like,
AD
this
Mitchell and
guy
Xavier Worthy.
sucks.
This guy I
Yeah.
can't and trust me, he wasn't the only one. Listen to the stock exchange guys. They were also they know they've done their summer scouting on quarterbacks. It's a very different class. There's no high end talent. There are some guys who could come out, but it is not this past year, guys. It is very very different. Um, so that's my crunch of the 22 class. So it is a crapshoot every time. First round ADP is pretty good in terms of rookie ADP and like draft capital is a huge indicator, right? We all know this.
Yeah.
But you know that's the numbers on the 22 guys, Brent. That's it. So you're looking at like 9 out of 30 who are like, oh, I'm happy to have them on my roster, and then a couple of them are like, I'm nervous. These guys I have draft capital and are never going to help me. Um, so yeah, my friend, that is,
To
oh,
your point too,
yeah,
and you brought this up on John Canellis's team, but I'm going to use Tam's team to illustrate
yeah,
it more. When you look at the bench and you're like, wow, there's a lot of cloggers.
yeah.
The problem with these third and fourth round picks is look at a Zamir White. You have to wait 2 years and maybe he gets the starting
That
job.
that
Maybe.
and
Maybe
like yeah,
maybe he's Khalil Herbert and then he never actually gets the job. You don't know.
timeshare.
But
They draft a guy, someone, and then Dylan, your boy Dylan Laube.
yeah,
Um, who knows? He takes all passing kit. So, and it's not going to be that good of a team, anyways. So, what's the ceiling there? That's what it is. You don't know. So, banking on the draft only to come to bring you back is a very long road, as our friend Tam knows. But now you got to strike. You got to buy veterans when the time comes because Jimmy had a we're going to exclude John Canellis year one because that was basically a redraft. Um, there were no rookie. It's very much a
yeah,
redraft focus that year one. He played to win year one. He won. Jimmy had a very good startup draft, but also has bought veterans at timely points, including James Conner and David Njoku. He has not gone
Jared
above
Goff.
Jared Goff. He has not gone Saquon Barkley. So Jimmy has sneaky bought these veterans, and they've all worked out. He didn't crazy overpay for anyone. He kind of bought a little low on some people. I mean, he traded the 102 for Saquon, correct? Is that what he did, Brand? And then you traded it
It
for
was. Yep.
Diggs. So like
Yep.
he has made good moves and it has worked out, and that has probably bought him one title by just doing that. Maybe the second one. I think the second one really was because of James Conner, David Njoku, Jared Goff, because Burrow got hurt.
Yep.
Um,
That's why I say Alex is Jimmy without the additional buys and efforts
yes,
because
because
Alex
he's
also
there.
had a great startup draft,
He
getting
does.
Jamar Chase,
Yes.
getting Debo Samuel.
Brock Purdy. Brock,
He
I don't know
picked
if he
up
drafted,
Brock
he picked up
Purdy off.
Brock.
Yeah,
Yeah. Tua has worked
two.
out.
Yeah.
Even trading for
So
Deshaun, which hasn't been good, is at least a QB3. So I do think those three guys, it's your time to buy, and it's opportunity. The willing seller, obvious seller is Eddie, and I'm here. I'm here always to talk. I am going either way right now. I go every day. I go back and forth, but I can, and everyone knows I'm more than willing to make deals. Um, yeah, but dear God, Brand, I had to get all this off my chest.
I love it.
I've been holding on to these notes, and I've been on the pod so long. I'm happy that we were able to get this done.
Oh, absolutely. Me
Yeah.
too. And you've struck a nerve with me. One of my pet peeves. So I do want to get this out. Like,
Yep.
look at Tam's bench right now. This is what
Yes.
happens when you prioritize the third and fourth and hold them.
Yep.
Hendon Hooker,
Cut.
Roshan Johnson,
Yep.
Chase Brown,
Mm-hmm.
even Khalil Shakir,
Yep.
A.T. Perry, all somewhat interesting guys, but they're not helping you
They're
this
not going to
year.
help him. They're not going to help him.
They're just
You could cut
clogging your
you
roster.
could
And
cut
then the
AT
next year
Perry.
you're gonna cut them to bring in the next set, you
The
know?
next tech. So it's I truly think I mean Alex can make a couple moves. That the tight end thing is so obvious to me, but Tam is the one who's like it's glaring to me that like and it's so obvious he has an opportunity in front of him. And I think for John, it's more of like maybe John waits a little, Canelos, and says, all right, I'm gonna do this now. You know, maybe a little bit more time, John, see what happens. But Eddie's team's gonna get eventually Eddie's going to have to sell. And I know Eddie's told me his prices on guy. I checked in with Eddie like past 2 days on prices.
It's market plus.
Yeah, I would say, and I'm not blaming Eddie, but there will be a time, and this is the game Eddie's playing. There is going to be a time where Eddie's going to be like, before this trade deadline, like he's risking injury with somebody. Like, imagine Derrick Henry goes down with an injury. Done. Gone, like gone. Value's gone. Like, and you know, you're like, well, I wanted a first for him. Like, hey, would you have taken 2 seconds? Like, well, hell yeah, now I would. So the running backs are obviously more prone to being injured. And that's where he's who knows? It's a game he's got to play. And even Devontae Adams, who's older, right? And with not great quarterback play, but he is a stud player. Like what is he gonna do? Is it better to sell now before first 3 games he doesn't produce like imagine he falls off a cliff. Aiden O'Connell, I don't know who's starting. Is it Minshew?
I think it's gonna be Aiden O'Connell to start.
So
Yeah.
I know he was chucking the ball at Devontae, but like if he has a couple down games and then like it's that game of like, and
Yeah.
that's where Eddie's like he has time right now, but eventually he's gonna have to make that decision of like if I have to sell packages that doesn't equal my valuations, I just there is gonna be a time I think he has to get the deal done, Eddie, because these older guys are worth nothing to you anymore. Um,
God
and I
forbid,
think
God forbid they get him in the playoffs and he doesn't get a lottery pick.
I don't, and that's the thing is like they're good players, right? They're just I think for Eddie's direction, they're just they're not worth anything to him now, as can be seen with like you've won so many games, Eddie, and like I think for everyone else learning that hey, you buy in more, you just buy in more, and that's why I did last year. That's why I just bought. I bought everything I could. I had crap timing in terms of injuries, but I still try to put out a decent product because I cashed in a lot of picks and took a lot of young guys that one draft and then I bought again. So I'm hoping we can generate. And I know this is the dead period. We got a month, right? It's we got a couple weeks till training camp starts up. This is the dead period. It happens. I'm hoping this can pick up, you know, a little bit of traction here, Brando. Hoping.
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you getting off your chest. And I hope it does get the market going
I
again
hope
because
so.
I know it's the dead period and we haven't historically had a lot of trades during this time. So that's
Yes.
understandable. But
Yep.
would be nice to get everyone back locked in, making
Yes.
some moves, talking around,
I'm
throwing
ready.
some offers out there. So
I am ready, everyone.
I'm listening too. You want to buy?
Brando's listening
Come
too.
talk to me. Just don't
We're
talk to me
here.
about Garrett Wilson and Olave. Don't talk to me about it.
Yep. Yep.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Ben. We appreciate it. We look forward to having you again on the pod with the tank in the future.
I can't wait, Brand. Let me get more material. I need to settle. I need to go
At
rest.
some point, we're gonna
Get
get
more
you and
material.
Jimmy or you
PTI
and
pod.
John Ion and just like
Yes.
I'm gonna sit back and just
And just
relax.
let it go.
Just
That should
let
be
it
good.
go.
Maybe the three of us.
Yeah,
I
that'd
think
be pretty
PTI
damn
style, the
epic.
three of us, you're Tony Reali. I think that's one of the
Yeah,
next pods. We'll make it
yeah,
happen.
yeah,
Okay.
we will. Awesome. Well, Brandon DeFrance of the All Aboard podcast. Thank you everyone for watching. Ben, we'll see you next time. See you later.
Later.